got
on to who?
we
Garibaldi? That's the big.
yeah, we've
That's the
got the
big one.
Garibaldi and Franklin.
Yeah.
So basically, Franklin comes to Sheridan at the club because apparently that's a thing now. The after
Yeah,
hours club,
with the jazz music.
right? Where people dress
Well, they
casually.
spent a bunch of money on the set. They need to use it. They
Right.
gotta,
Yeah. Well, good.
they gotta amortize the cost.
Was he
Yep.
wearing Zeke Everici's or something? I don't know.
Close.
Yeah, I kind of had flashbacks.
Yeah. But so Franklin comes and he says he wants to talk to Sheridan about something, and he says Garibaldi's not getting better, and then he reveals this this thing about the alien machine that was used last season to heal people, but that it's
nice little tie-in.
What was that?
Yeah,
That's a nice little tie-in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A good call back there, and Franklin's looking for his permission to use it. So that's kind of good that Franklin's not just going off on his uppity, snotty doctor routine. He's actually following the chain of command here a little bit.
Right.
And so, long story short, he agrees, but then there's a little crossover here with Sheridan's story with his sister and his guilt and everything. Is that as a result of that, he kind of comes in and is like, because it was a whole, I could have done this, thing. And so he comes and says that he wants to be the one, hooked up to the machine. Garibaldi's under his command. So he's responsible for him.
He's responsible. Yeah.
And then they kind of cut a deal that they'll split it, they'll each give a little bit of their life force or whatever.
Wouldn't be good to lose his chief of security 2 weeks in. Wouldn't look good on his resume. Although technically this happened on his predecessor's watch. So
well, although the thing that I like about this part is, yeah, okay, Franklin's willing to do the thing, but I see their motivations being completely different. It's I want to help Garibaldi. For Franklin, it's I'm going to do this myself because I want to be. I'm going to be the hero and use this alien device to save lives. There's a piece of that ego. Feels like in that, whereas Sheridan comes in and is like, no. I'm responsible for the lives of the crew under my command. I will take the risk. I'll take the hit. And then he gets logical and says,
we'll split the difference.
If you're the one under the machine and you're the doctor and something goes wrong, that's probably a bad thing. Trademark register, whatever. That's the thing. So, for him to come in and basically say, no, Franklin, you're not the one who gets to do this, which makes complete sense, because if anything were to happen to Franklin while going through this process, you lose them both. Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, what you mean, Garibaldi and Franklin? Yeah.
And
so you gotta have a neutral, somebody there that's there to observe.
You notice when Sheridan shows up, it's not like there's someone else there to assist Franklin. Like he's going to do it. It looks like he's doing it by himself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is not very good doctoring. I'm still not impressed with this character.
Doesn't have a nurse, but we know he does because we've seen
he's got a whole staff.
Yeah.
And why aren't they doing this in sickbay?
Yeah. So hush
in that room. that super sealed room.
Yeah. Did they? Who moved him? Did Franklin move him? Did the staff know that Franklin moved him? Did the staff help him move Garibaldi? I mean, all this it doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Well, it was just his chance to show off his hairy chest. I don't know. Did not need to see that much of that man's chest.
Well, you're talking about Garibaldi at that point.
Yes, God. I'm like, really? Put a shirt on him. Why didn't he have a thing on?
Yeah, he needs a hospital gown or a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Or something,
Listen, they're trying to bring in the chicks to the show.
Star Trek's got the tracksuits. Let's do that.
It's like, yeah, maybe it was they were trying to reach out to the female audience. I don't know. I mean, Yeah, I mean Bruce Boxleitner or Leitner, Boxleitner, is that what it
Box
is?
Lightner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he comes from what Scarecrow and Mrs. King, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my mom loved that show. So,
Oh, it was a fun show. It absolutely
yeah,
was.
yeah, because he was a secret agent, right? And so,
Well, and before that, you had Bring 'Em Back Alive, where he played Frank Buck, and then and then of course he's Tron. So
right,
you've got
yeah,
legacy there with other with fans from other uh,
other
other
genres.
other shows.
He's kind of crosses it.
Yeah.
And Garibaldi is, I don't know what his actor was in before, but you know. At any rate,
I
I
don't
think
remember
you're,
seeing Jerry Doyle in anything before this.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
But
Well,
okay, so they make.
yeah.
Go ahead, Cam.
so it
Sorry.
works. Basically,
Yeah.
they do revive Garibaldi.
right,
And while he's not in fighting shape by any means, he is out of his coma. And then this his security assistant guy is still lurking around there.
And what's
tapped
the
into the
first thing?
comms apparently.
What's the first thing Garibaldi says when he gets up?
Uh, well, he says, "I don't know you."
No,
No, he's like, did they?
Oh
He's
yeah, we
asking
got to
about
stop
the
the president.
no,
assassination.
that's not the first thing he says.
I need water. What does he say?
What's up, Doc?
Oh yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's a callback to when him and Delin are watching cartoons in the first season.
Well, he was watching Daffy Duck, right? Or was he
he's
watching Marvin Martian?
a Looney Tunes.
They were
Yeah.
watching Looney Tunes, right? So
Yeah,
anyway, that's just.
but they weren't watching Bugs Bunny. But I did see
But
that.
it was Looney Tunes, yeah. So I
Yes.
wonder if that was a little bit of a call to that. But anyway,
Probably.
Could be.
sorry. Go on.
Maybe even a poke at Warner Brothers for, something.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
No, that's it. So they kind of this kind of moves into the whole storyline with the assassination.
And then Sheridan's all smiley at him, and he's like, "I don't know you," which is kind of weird. The way it came off, I don't know. Didn't it seem kind of weird to you guys? I don't
No,
know
I mean,
you.
you wake up from a coma.
But
You've
but
had
again, yeah,
yeah, stop and
the
consider.
president's been there's been an assassination plot against the president. You
That's
trusted
true.
the guy before, and now it's some new guy. You're like, who the hell is this guy?
Well,
Yeah,
not only that, but he's uncovered a conspiracy to
Yeah.
assassinate the president on the ship. And now
Right.
suddenly here's this new officer. I don't know you. I'm chief of security. I don't know who you are, but I have to talk about this stuff, but I don't know I don't know who you are, so I don't know if I can trust you or not.
right.
Yeah, I
Because
agree with
just
that
been
post
shot in
nerd.
the back.
Yeah,
Who
I
are
just got
you?
shot in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the heck's this guy? I mean, I'm not. He's naturally suspicious about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that post nerd there. Yeah.
Well, and clearly there's some implications.
I think Ivanova being there is going to make him a little bit, right? Like
It helps.
she's standing beside him. She's
Right.
not giving him some sort of sign that's saying, shut up, this guy's untrustworthy or something like that.
Right.
I'm assuming he looks over at her and she's got a positive or neutral expression or.
Well, and the way he says it, he says, "I don't know you," instead of other things that he could say that would indicate more suspicion and mistrust. He's like, "I don't know you." It's he's he's fishing for information,
Yeah.
but he's not doing it from a standpoint of complete defensive anger, claws out. It's you're in uniform, but I don't know who you are. Somebody better tell me who you are right now before I decide what my next step is.
Yeah. Well, and then of course,
and Sheridan would know that. Like Sheridan would understand that. Like he knows that this guy's been shot in the back. He's chief of security. I'm a new guy here. He doesn't know me. There is, trust is required amongst, people. Some people think that the military. Oh well, I just listen to this guy, and this guy tells me what to do, and I just do it. It's there is some personal trust and relationships that are required. So
yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Of course, interesting that he asks for Talia specifically.
Well, that's not right
Yeah.
then there, right? Like that's
No, but later on, as he's recovering, because he's now out of the coma, but he can't remember anything. So, I think it was the next scene where we saw him, where his right hand, his real, what we would consider his real top cop, not necessarily his little protege that is the one that stabbed him in the back or literally shot him in the back, but his top cop there, shows up.
Lou.
Yeah, yeah. And he's kind of a semi-regular too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been in several episodes.
Yeah. So, and he's bringing in Talia. So clearly he made a request, but I do find it funny that, this guy just is able to listen to anything. And I did like how they got him out of his office. I guess that was, oh, you got to see it. She's got butterfly wings and everything.
Well, we just make it clear that the aide is there when Garibaldi first wakes up and Sheridan and Devonov are there, and he can't remember anything. And then
because he was reaching for a sidearm, which is
oh
the boy, that would be and he's like, okay, he can't remember
and then
anything.
it's later on that it's after that he can't remember anything, and he says, "Oh, bring Talia. Let me use the hated cycle
jog the memory." Yeah, but I found it funny that he went to that extreme to say, hey, I want you to see if there's anything I need to know, if there's anything that maybe I can't grasp or I can't pull out. And and for him to trust Talia, of course, he kind of had a little thing with Talia anyways, where he liked to always be in the elevator whenever she was trying to use it.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. How about him, him bringing in Talia? He's not really trustful of Psychor. He doesn't really like them.
Right.
I mean, he kind of likes Talia because he's been messing with her last season a little bit. And, by messing, I mean...
Been punking, basically.
Punking her a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that.
I think it's driven by a sense of immediacy because, I need to warn people that the president's going to be killed. Oh, no, the president's been killed. I'm too late.
Well, we got to find out.
Now we have to find out what happened, who got me.
Yeah.
So we can at least nip this part of the conspiracy in the bud, and maybe we grab him. We can start pulling that thread, and we can figure out who else is involved in this mess.
And of course, the president is going to personally oversee it.
Right. That was just shy of absurd.
Is there any more about Talia though before we go into that?
Well, the Talia thing is she's she knows he doesn't trust her, and the fact that he's asking specifically for her to dig around in his head
means it's pretty important.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's willing to, because I mean that was a whole standoff before in the previous season, right? Going in and messing with your mind.
And not only that, on her side of it,
she was apprehensive.
Do it.
Yeah.
Because we've seen in some of those cases where she's actually gone into people's heads, it's not a very pleasant experience for her.
Right.
And so now she's got to go in and see this thing.
And this was a deep scan. She told him straight up, I have to do a deep scan. You're going to feel it.
And that's a missed opportunity too, because when she sits there and she says, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, it would have been perfect for Garibaldi to look at her and say, hey lady, I just got shot in the back. Just like, missed opportunity for a quick comeback. That was such a perfect spot for that kind of a line.
Well, he could have just said something like, she said, this is going to hurt. And he could have said, more than being shot in the back.
Yeah, something like that. Is like, this is not going to be anything. Let's do this. But for her to be willing to do it and to go, that suggests a little bit more of a movement of trust toward him as well.
I think that's a in their relationship, as colleagues, I think that's him going out on a limb and saying, look, I need your help.
Yeah.
You have a talent that I need. Normally I would be opposed to it being forced upon me, but in this case, I need to know this information. I want you to get it from, find out if there's something that I'm not saying, which clearly there was. because he, what he winds up seeing the reflection of, his young protege, as he said, I treated you like a brother,
What
Um,
what gets me wondering on that though is when they did the flashback, him seeing, we'll call him Jack. I think there's calling him seeing it in that reflection.
mhm,
That's an angle that we did not get
mhm.
in the first season. So did they shoot it and then they superimposed the reflection into season 2? Or did they shoot this scene while everybody was there, knowing that we were going to get a flashback later?
That's a good question. I don't think we can even know the answer to that, can we?
I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they could have superimposed the reflection of him on there. Obviously, I'm sure it took a little bit of angle work to get the reflection to show up.
Right. And
Certain lighting and stuff like that.
what's he reflecting on? No.
Right, but I don't know what it was. Was it maybe it was a
I don't
shield
know.
from a
It's
helmet, or
like,
I
you couldn't tell. It felt like it was something in the structure of the wall, but I don't know.
yeah, maybe one of those mirrors that are used so that you can see
I
kind of
just
what's coming
kinda
from a different angle.
I just kind of overlooked that. I'm like, all right, listen, this is important. I'll just overlook the whole. Yeah.
Where was this one shiny reflective place?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little suspicious, but
Yeah. But at any rate, yeah. So him discovering that, obviously, then he's they're they're out waiting for him outside his office, and they're all in their what do you want to call them? Their SWAT outfits.
Yeah, that was a little
You know?
strange. It's like, why was that necessary? That didn't make any sense to me.
why not just send 4 guys into his thing with guns drawn and saying you're under arrest? Yeah.
I guess
Hey, you got to see this.
they were playing up the Len thing.
Yeah.
Again, unnecessary.
Maybe just kind of tying the scenes together.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it too is, okay, this is a guy who's just shot our boss in the back. What is he capable of doing? And
Right.
and he's Garibaldi's number 2 man. He's got training. He knows all of the procedures that we normally supposed to use. So, it's not like you're just, doing a perp walk and grabbing the guy off the street.
Yeah.
Some punk. You're grabbing your boss essentially. Excuse me, cat.
I was gonna say I hear cat.
I think part of that, the whole the tactical
And maybe they all wanted to be in on it.
Well, and I think
kind of a
that's
revenge
part of it
thing.
too.
Yeah.
But the other part of it too is, if we're going to pick him up, we're going to grab him. What preparations has he made? Maybe he's walking around with a doomsday bomb on him, with a dead man switch. All I got to do is just click my teeth and boom, take out half the station. So
wouldn't be the first time we saw somebody that,
and cops do like to put on their fancy gear. They don't get much chance to wear it.
Their rough and tumble stuff.
Yeah, their SWAT stuff.
Their camo.
Lou leads the charge here and then makes it clear that he's willing to take care of this problem on the down low.
Yeah.
And maybe that would have been the better option.
Maybe.
Clearly we come to find out.
Yeah, there's an interrogation scene, right? Where he's not restrained, by the way.
You notice that? They don't see, I guess they don't need restraints. Maybe his feet were tied.
I thought the lighting was very interesting in that that scene.
Yeah.
They're like purposefully lighting him so that he looks hollow and his eyes are and even Garibaldi looks a little, unusual, like little, not the usual way they light.
I don't think it was just lighting. I think it was the camera, the lens used was a little.
Yeah, it was a little bit shallow. I think it was probably a little bit shallower depth of field. But with the lighting, your Jack. Interesting how many shadows are on his face.
Right. Well, clearly they were trying to.
Yeah,
What is that? Subconscious implication, or Yeah.
Foreshadowing, perhaps.
So,
But
what the heck is this? What's that guy's name? The number. I don't. I can never remember his name.
I don't think
Aide?
they ever gave him. He's listed on IMDb as Garibaldi's aide, but
Yeah,
they were saying
his
in the
name is
chat
Jack.
Is Jack.
Jack.
So.
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
It's
he
I think it's
mentioned-
mentioned in the like the end of credits. That's I don't think he's ever called that though, but
It's just called Garibaldi's aid. Yeah.
So Garibaldi's interrogating him, going through the stuff, and they kind of have him dead to rights. And Garibaldi's, mentions that he for it wasn't treason. Basically, he shot a superior officer, so they could
Mutiny.
space him, right?
Yeah.
But he was trying to get some information out of him, and Garibaldi's looking at the Earth.
He's
Earth first thing, and he said, what did he say? He said something like, they are
the Home Guard. They're a bunch
Home
of
Guard
misfits.
misfits.
Misfits. Those are a bunch of misfits. This is
Right.
bigger, basically.
Right, and so that's a pretty big revelation there, right? That
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, okay, because again, throughout the first season, we saw these various references to things like Earth First or other various movements. Psycho,
Right.
we know, was messing around with stuff, and then we saw the military guys doing various things, and so he's pretty much said, yeah, this is way bigger, like you just said, Jeff. And so that, I don't know, I mean, we don't know what the answer is, but it's kind of collapsing things down a little bit to I mean,
He's got a little bit of shadow. There's some foreshadowing. I mean, it's like, yeah,
there's something there, but
there's
he also gives the old "be seeing you," which of course is a Prisoner reference.
oh
but
yeah.
who
I am
else
not
did
a
we
number.
see say
I am
that?
a free man.
We
I
saw Bester say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
we did. So it makes you wonder if
So it seems to be pointing to Psychor, maybe.
Which is
Well-
the conversation that Garibaldi and Talia have at toward the end of the episode. Is like, hey, here's this suspicious behavior. Now this comes after Sheridan's had his conversation with the president, put him on a ship, send him here with all of the, not with copies of the evidence, but
With all the
Yeah,
evidence.
Put it in a
everything
box.
he got.
everything,
Put
the
it in a banker
tapes,
box.
And
put it all in there. I'll personally oversee.
And so when all of it vanishes and Sheridan's like, well, it's all gone. I was like, didn't you make a copy? Don't we
That's
know
what
about
I'm wondering.
making a backup of
Okay,
this?
you're saying the original. We made copies.
What?
So we got to have something to leak to ISN, right?
It's like,
Well-
it's like the British Film Institute. They have a copy of Star Wars. It's like, oh, hey, look it. Let's scan it and make a Blu-ray out of it. I mean, it boggles my mind that they would sit there and not make a copy of everything.
Yet
Well-
Lizzie has a copy of a message that she got from her best friend from way back when.
I know.
Right.
Like, wait, hold on. How does this work?
10 years ago.
I mean,
But
clearly it's easy to make copies.
we do. Okay, so there's another important contrast here, right? President Clark himself calls up Sheridan,
Mhm.
and we have this whole scene where it leads into what you guys are talking about.
Not a
Now,
senator.
That's right. In contrast to season 1, where Sinclair couldn't get anybody with any real authority on the line if
It was always
if
just
his
a
life
senator.
depended on it.
Random senator.
Right. And for this, okay, it's important, but it wasn't a crisis necessarily, an active crisis like they had in season 1. So, that stands out pretty strongly, right?
Because
Yeah,
knowing how things work nowadays, modern era, I don't know that kind of conversation would even happen, much less I'm taking personal responsibility for the investigation. Like, no. You're president of the United States. You're president of Earth Alliance. You have a certain set of responsibilities. You do not have the time or the wherewithal,
Or
to
most
be
likely the
doing
skill
any
set.
or the skill set to be
Yeah.
doing any kind of investigation. You have people for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's every now and again, as much as I am enjoying the show, every now and again there's scenes like that pull me out And I'm looking at the person who's writing this. This is hand of the writer. This is a hand of the writer scene.
Right. Yeah.
This is
clearly.
not. This makes absolutely no sense in the real world circumstances that it would be like this, because it would never happen this way.
Oh, never. Yeah. No.
Now,
But it
I would
has to happen because the plot says it's got to happen.
But the implication is clear. I mean, he definitely wanted to make that implication that the president, former vice president,
He's in on it.
is in on it. Yeah. He's part.
Now, I
he's
mean,
part of the, especially with him disappearing and all the materials disappearing with it. He's the one who asked for him and all the material to be sent with him on the prison ships that I thought they were too expensive to send people on, but apparently
So,
not.
there's a couple of things. I think Jason's right. It's a little suspicious. Now, I can sort of write that off a little bit in the saying that, okay, he is the vice president. I mean, if the president has been assassinated, I mean, remember, no one knows this. I mean, that would be something that would be very important that you would want to know about. And I could see him taking a personal interest in it, and needing to have the information at his fingertips, in a sense, in order to to deal with it, the political fallout. It'd be a big political fallout. Now,
Right.
I mean, he would appoint somebody and that sort of thing. But I think that, I mean, I agree. They're really getting. I mean, it's very obvious that. I mean, even Sheridan, like when the president's like, "Oh, I need this information," he has this sort of look on his face, and it's kind of a little skeptical, right? Like right off the bat, you're getting that idea. Now, at the very end, it's pretty obvious to the audience at the end that the vice president is in on it. I mean, he says that he wants this information so badly, and then the prisoner disappears on some other ship. All the information disappears. And when Sheridan tries to call him and say, "Hey, that thing that you were so interested in that you called me personally on? There's been a big problem with getting you the information. It's disappeared." He doesn't even take his call.
Well, and
that is very, very suspicious. It's pretty obvious that there's something going on, right?
That's what I'm talking about with that scene being hand of the writer, because it's clearly telegraphing ahead. You guys, this. But for him to sit there and say, I'm personally going to supervise, and I don't think we're being too literal. He literally says, I'm taking over
personal responsibility. Yeah, I'm personally going to oversee this.
And I get it with like Stop saying, with the compartmentalization and all of that, but let's game this out for a second. Let's say that somebody manages to take out the president of the United States.
Right.
The vice president becomes the new president, and he's going to say, "Okay, I'm gonna take out." And to Michael's point, sure, I'm going to take responsibility for it. But the people that are actually doing it are going to be the FBI, the Secret Service, probably the local,
the Attorney General,
the Attorney General's office, all of the Department of Justice, all of these different law enforcement branches, maybe even the CIA, depending on who it is they figure out did it. But you're not going to contain. I mean, granted, we've only been a few days since the incident has happened. First,
was it 8 days now?
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
So at some point, it's going to come out the president was assassinated. You can't contain that kind of information for very long, if at all.
Well, that depends.
But for Clark, for President Clark to say, I'm taking personal responsibility, it's not like he's going to be the only one involved, which just goes back to hand of the writer in that scene to clearly implicate him in the audience's mind. Well, he's in on it. Yeah. He knows something. He's going to do it, because the way it plays out, I mean, the music even underscores it. When Sheridan's like, hang on, this feels a little hinky, which, if you're suspicious about stuff, make a copy of the stuff that you're sending.
Right. I mean, is it hard?
Yeah.
Maybe those crystals cost way too much money. I don't know.
To Michael's point, I didn't take it literally that he was going to investigate it. To me, that just means when politicians say that, it just means that they're having a personal interest for whatever reason, and they're going to be briefed regularly, on
they're
going to
be they're going to be
asking questions, and that their subordinates should be like, hey, we make sure we have the information about this all the time because they're going to keep asking
And
questions.
we don't we don't know
Basically,
the
Drake. That's what I agree.
Okay,
That's basically what it means for me.
there's a
what
little
Drake
bit of
says.
a disconnect here because, and you could explain some of it because Sheridan is new here,
right.
but Garibaldi and Ivanova witnessed this weird stuff going on, and maybe they didn't compare notes, but the whole thing about be seeing you and Earth First or Jokers, and if they took the time to put all this together, well,
They should have made copies of
you
this
would
stuff
you would think,
themselves.
right, that there would be enough suspicion to say there's something wrong here.
You would make copies anyway, just in case it got lost being
Right,
sent there,
yeah,
and
exactly.
they're like, "Hey, we lost it. Give us the copies."
Yeah, and
You're like,
now bearing in mind that
whoops.
this is also 30 years ago, right? Where now we just accept that everything is forever, right?
Well, I don't know. I saw something on I think it was one of the list 25 things where they were talking about, until 2013, the FBI was still dealing with paper records.
Well,
So,
but those were still backed up.
we're talking 9 years ago.
Yeah, but they were backed up and copied
10 years
somewhere.
ago.
What are you talking about?
Southwest.
This year, we found out that our Social Security records or whatever were stored in a cave.
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
knew that
And
actually.
those are really cool caves.
Yeah.
We've got them here,
I hope they sell them
Um,
off. Be looking into that.
and it's interesting.
But those
to
were
say. I used to-
backups. That's good. I mean, nuclear
Well,
tactics,
I mean,
they're safe.
No, it's
Anyway.
not backups.
No,
that was
Those aren't
the-
backups. The paper records are the
They're still
original.
using paper, yeah. But
And
Iron
they're
Mountain,
in
Iron
the
Mountain,
process
yeah.
of scanning those in to digital. So there's some of those paper records that's the only place where they exist, and they're making the copies. But that
Right.
just goes to the point. If you've got all of this documentation, you're going to be making multiple copies, because say there's an investigation that involves both, the FBI, Department of Justice, CIA. You're going to have copies of all of the stuff for all of those different agencies to process and go through in order to coordinate the investigation. You can't just work off of one copy of the record. It makes no
Right, well-
sense at all.
well.
I mean,
let's
your
also
investigative
remember,
team is going to have multiple. They're going to have copies, for the different agencies that are investigating too. So
Yeah.
they also have the testimony of, I mean, the memories of people. It's not like they lost all the information. They know what happened.
yeah.
These things came from reports that someone wrote. I mean, in much of it at least. So that's kind of a hand waving thing. It's like,
nothing to see here.
They
Move
got rid
along.
of, so anyway, but we find out about this whole thing that, the guys disappeared. Basically, there was a transfer. It was all legal, and then, but suddenly no one knows what happened, which in itself it's like, well, if it's all legal and there's all records of it, then where is it?
Yeah.
That should be something someone should be able to make an inquiry about, and then their superior would say, shut up, don't look here.
But again, where did I thought prisoner transport ships were too expensive? Remember?
No, that's just to get rid of refugees or
Oh, okay. Okay.
prisoners. They can do it. Oh no,
Yeah.
you're right. It was for the murderer guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this guy's more important, I guess. So.
That's why
Yeah,
we
it's
mind
never-
wiped him
Come on,
instead.
it's the government.
The
It's
serial
never
killer.
too. If the government thinks it's important, then
That's true.
Yeah.
No
amount of taxpayer money we won't need to spend.
That's we won't waste. Yeah, there's no limit to the amount of taxpayer money we'll waste if we deem it to be important, right?
Yeah.
Like covering my ass that I engineered the assassination of my predecessor.
Hey,
What?
I'm gonna
What are you
hide-
talking about? Nuh-uh.
all right. Should we get to the?
I'm
We're
pretty much
actually-
convinced that Clark's in on it. I mean,
So
pretty obvious.
well, oh yeah, I think the implication is not just subtle. I think it's seeping in that implication. It's drenched in it,
It's
like
it's
dressing,
very-
like
It's very, very, very hand wavy and in your face.
yeah. I think it's clear that Clark, in conjunction with the Psychops, and obviously Bester's in there. And I think Psychor themselves is trying to pull the strings, right? I think they arranged it, which means somebody from Psychor, I suspect, was involved with you know, these shadow people. But that's my speculation. I don't know.
I actually,
Or at
it's
least
actually
they're
kind of
now.
interesting that, I mean, Clark would, I mean, if I was Clark and I was doing this, I probably would not have sent, you know, I would not have called. I want to maintain some plausible deniability. So you wouldn't want to talk to Sheridan at all, actually.
Right.
You know, send one of your flunkies and then you can say, oh, he did it on, you know, you can blame him later. He knew about it. He did it on my behalf. I didn't know nothing about it. But
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of that separation, the wall of
yeah.
separation.
So it's pretty
Keep
obvious.
your hands clean when they're
Yeah,
not.
he's you know, Clark should know better than get his hands
Yeah.
dirty. But
The question is who's the one who made the deal with the bad guys in the universe? If that's what happened,
What
was
if
it somebody like Bester? That's like the complicit in this conspiracy, or was it the vice president? I think the vice president who became president is just. I think he's just a political puppet, to be honest.
I that would be my guess as well. But
Yeah.
well,
I don't know.
here's a thought, and we may get this, we may get this, played out
Who's number
later.
You are number
What
6.
what if President Clark is also compromised by somebody like Morden?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
implying.
He's
I don't
a figurehead.
I don't know if it's actually Clark that is, or somebody more like Bester, or somebody in Psychor that is made contact with this.
My guess
shadow
would
people.
be these shadows are working to weaken the various races
Different
before
societies.
they get in
Yeah.
there, and that so far now, Earth force, the humans have been compromised. They have a leader that is sympathetic to them or will do what they say, and they're
Right.
working through Lando, working on the Centauri.